Hey everybody, I'm Den Haring. Welcome back to my channel, Fish Den 365, and welcome back to Topwater Tuesday. Today, we have a very interesting bait to show you. This is the Livingston Walking Boss 2. If you're not familiar with this bait, you're going to want to watch this. Okay, so this is the Livingston Walking Boss 2 Junior. It's a smaller one. They have a larger one with 3 hooks. This one is around 4 inches, a little long, maybe just a little longer than 4 inches. And it has a number of interesting features on it. I've got 2 of them here. And first thing that you'll notice is that it's got a lip much like the lip of a jitterbug. It's plastic though. And some of you may know this. There was a time when Fred Arbogast, the jitterbug, they changed from a metal lip to a plastic lip, or at least they offered one with a plastic lip. I think they dropped it from the market though. I have several of them because I thought it was interesting. It's a little harder to see, and I thought that might make it a better bait. But I think Arbogast may have dropped the plastic lip because the sound on those jitterbugs was not quite the same, and it might have had to do with the hardness of the metal versus the plastic, or even the weight of it. I'm not quite sure, but the sound on the plastic-lipped jitterbugs was a little subtler than the metal-lipped jitterbug. But that subtler, in my point of view, could be a good thing. It could be a better thing when it comes to a bait fish profile like this. So the bait has, it comes with a nice feather tail. I didn't change the hook here. I did change this one. Eventually I'll tie my own feather tails and with the Gamakatsu hooks that I like and change them out. But these look so nice. I just thought I'd show you what they look like, the way the bait is. I bought these last year, but I did not fish them yet. And I meant to, and they just ended up somewhere in the bottom of a box and I never fished them. Or they were on my wall and I never pulled them down. So, but this year I'm going to be fishing them because I think they're an interesting bait. This bone-colored one here, for example, it actually glows in the dark. You shine a light on it and turn a light out, and it has a real neat greenish glow to it. It's a glow-in-the-dark bait. There's other baits out there like that. I actually have a jitterbug that glows in the dark, but it's just a little something different. But the thing that really differentiates this bait, and this is true for a number of other Livingston lures, is they have a circuit in here that emits a sound when this thing is in the water. It's activated by the water. And if you get it wet, you can activate it with your fingers. I don't know if you can hear it. It's very subtle. But you can activate it with your fingers, and it's a baitfish sound. It's supposed to imitate a fleeing or distressed baitfish. And I actually like that sound. There's been some scientific studies on sounds and their effects on fish, and one of the earlier ones was done by Bill Lewis Lures. It used to be on their website. I don't know if it is anymore. I think they were trying to figure out why their rattle trap caught so many fish. You know, it had those rattles in it and it made a really specific rattling sound when you shook that bait. And they found that they used some underwater acoustic equipment and they recorded what it sounded like when a school of baitfish was swimming and was distressed. And it actually sounded like, on a subtler level, what it sounds like when you shake a rattle trap bait. It had that clicking and sound to it. It was very, very similar in sound. It just, the volume wasn't quite as loud. The amplitude was not quite as loud. And they were surmising on their website that this is why the rattle trap caught so many fish, and it is a very good fish catcher over all these years. So somebody had done some studies about what these distressed baitfish schools might sound like underwater, and they tried to imitate it with this bait. Now, some of the Livingston lures, you actually can choose the sound from like 3 or 4 different sounds. This one, no, from what I could tell, it just makes one sound. It sounds like that distressed baitfish call. There was another one on another lure that was supposed to sound like a crawfish on the bottom. But I think it's a pretty neat idea. There's, for many years, Kevin Van Dam was swearing by a device that he had. I forget what it was called, but you put it on your boat and it basically puts a speaker into the water, and it's supposed to emit baitfish sounds shad, that kind of thing, and that's supposed to excite the game fish, the predators. And he swore by that thing. And I have friends that have used it and said that it really seems to make a difference when the fish are turned off and you need to get them turned on or get them somewhat excited. So there's probably something to it. I just don't know how reliable it really is. But I did read in some of the reviews where some people said that they had this lure and they threw it out on the surface and just let it sit there and it was making its noise and it got bit that way. Now, that could be completely coincidental because any topwater lure sitting on the surface can get bit regardless of whether it's making noise or not. But it is kind of an interesting thing, and knowing that it emits that sound. Now, and there's a number of ways you can retrieve this bait because of this cupped lip. One of the ways is, and this is one of the basic ways, and this is what works so well with the jitterbugs, especially at night, is you just throw it out there, you let the ripple subside, and then you just reel it in at a slow, steady walking pace. And this thing will just walk and it'll make that noise as it goes through the water. It makes a good sound all in itself without any without any electronics inside the bait. So that's one way to fish it, just a steady retreat back to the boat. You can stop and go. You can do a number of things with stop and go retrieves as well. One of the things that I'm looking forward to doing is trying to make this thing look more like the alewife spawn that takes place in the lakes that I fish coming up in May and June. And it might not look the same as what the bait's doing, but it sounds very similar because I've done this with other lipped baits in the past. And that is, you just rush the bait forward. You can use your reel and reel real fast and stop, or you can use your rod and sweep it a little bit. And all you're doing is rushing the bait forward about a foot or so, maybe not even a foot, very fast, and then stop. And it makes like a swishing sound, and that can be very attractive to predators looking for an easy meal and coming up and smashing it. So that stop and go, just rushing it forward and then stopping, rushing it forward and stopping, could be another great way to fish this bait, and it's certainly one of the ways that I will be fishing it. That, with the addition of this distressed baitfish sound where you're rushing it forward and stopping and then letting that sound do its thing, it's very subtle, but it does travel better underwater. They said it actually travels twice as far as the actual distressed baitfish sounds. That's probably true because we can hear it here. But I don't think it's subtle enough for me to want to try it. It's not something like a one knocker or a bunch of rattles in a bait that is so loud and obnoxious that sometimes I think it can scare fish away, especially on pressured systems. This is much more subtler. I hope you were able to hear it on the camera. But it makes it an interesting bait to fish. The bait got mixed reviews. I think when it first came out, there were some quality flaws with it that people complained about, but it seems like they've cleaned that up, and they seem to be quite a bit more reliable, and some people really like throwing these baits. So another topwater bait for you to consider coming up this spring and summer. Well, I hope you liked the video and got something out of it. This is the Livingston Walking Boss 2, an interesting bait, a lot of interesting concepts all in one bait here. Give it a try. If you have any experience with this bait, I'd love to hear. Please comment and let me know what you think of the bait. If you feel it's gimmicky or if you feel that it actually works to catch fish, we would like to know. So please comment and give me your thoughts on the bait. If you liked the video, give me the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share with your friends. Looking forward to getting the next video out there for you and getting on the water soon. Hope to see you out there. Be safe, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.